Yeah, I'll go. Good morning, everyone. Having reached the hour of 9 o'clock, I call the February 6, 2024 Stanislaus County Supervisors Board meeting in order. If you can all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Jeffrey Woods from the Barnabas Leadership Foundation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom we have to meet and conduct the business of our county, and for the opportunity we as citizens have to participate. Thank you for our elected officials, county executives, department heads, and staff who seek to lead us, developing, funding, and facilitating programs, projects, and measures that promote a thriving community. This morning, they will officially designate the month of February as Black History Month, with this year's theme of African Americans and the Arts. I thank you for the increasing visibility of our Black brothers and sisters' contributions in the visual, musical, theatrical, and spoken and other arts in our county. Contributions which have been here all along but are growing in their recognition, matched by the rich contributions of so many other African American members of our community in so many other fields that have enriched our life together. Connected with this, I thank you for not only the growing recognition of past and even present racial inequities in our county, but for this board of supervisors who, especially in the past few years, have taken steps to allocate funding to begin to address some of those inequities, adding substance to such proclamations. Thank you, too, for the encouraging grants and developments impacting our criminal justice processes and library improvements that will be approved in the consent calendar, along with the progress that is being made in the area of illegal cannabis enforcement. In all that transpires this morning, I ask that you would give wisdom, strength, and courage to our supervisors so that the decisions they make will continue to enable us to flourish. For I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Woods, for those well-thought and kind words. Next, I'd like to announce that Supervisor Chance Condit is teleconferencing into the meeting. Therefore, all votes will be by roll call vote, and Supervisor Condit is in D.C. on county business, so he'll be joining us from there. Thank you, Supervisor Condit. Hope you can hear us and there's no technical difficulties.
Happy to join.
All right, next we have a presentation for February 2024, to acknowledge February 2024 as Black History Month in Stanislaus County. And to present will be John Irvin, co-founder and artistic director of Sankofa Theater. Welcome up, Joe. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Greenwell, Mr. Board of Supervisors. Thank you all. Thank you all for this honor of receiving the proclamation on behalf of Sankofa Theater Company, which was the first and only African-American theater company founded in Stanislaus County, Modesto. We're 11 years running, and again, we thank you for acknowledging Black History Month, the long legacy that African Americans have done in contributions, not only in the arts, the sciences, politics. You can go on and on, medicine. So we thankful for this proclamation, and I just want to give a shout out to the co-founders. Where's Reverend Savage? Somewhere around here, yes. And our other co-founders who are working, Elizabeth Garman and Cheryl Knox. and to plug our new play at the Gallo Center, Death of a Salesman. So we encourage you all to come out and support us February 16th, 17th, and 18th. Thank you.
Okay, so coming down for the proclamation. Good morning, John. How you doing?
All right.
Pastor Savage, how you doing? We got Councilmember Williams in the audience as well. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming this morning and acknowledging all the contributions of the African American community here in Stanislaus County over the years. Like you said, in sports, arts, politics, public service, because of you, Stanislaus County is a better community. So thank you so much. And then acknowledging the arts, Death of a Salesman. I've seen you present about that at Rotary one time, and I still have to catch that social. I got the dates, February 16th, 17th, and 18th. If you can make it, Death of a Salesman. And also appreciate your contribution and service on the Modesto City School Board. So this morning, I'd like to acknowledge proclaiming February 2024 as Black History Month in Stanislaus County. And there's all the whereases, but what we can really say is we can't be more thankful for everything you guys have done and continue to do as not just a community, but as individuals for Stanislaus County. Is there any other members? Councilmember Williams, would you like to join? Any other members? Please.
All of our supporters, come on up here.
Yeah. The more of you in the picture will drown out me, so that's good. That's a good thing.
Oh, can I say something right quick?
Absolutely, Reverend.
He's a preacher, be careful.
Said he's a reverend now. Now, we do need your support on this play. If you can't show up, buy a couple of tickets and give them away. And also, if you want to contribute even more than that, we are a nonprofit, 501c3. So if you want to make a huge contribution, you can do that also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that 3 stands for 300, 3,000, 30,000, you know, whatever.
Thank you.
John, I thank you for your service on the Modesto City School Board, but thank you for your service to our nation. I know you're a veteran as well, so thank you so much. All right, next, we have public comment. So anybody that would like to speak on public comment, I have 2 public comment cards. First, I have Nancy Robinson from the Modesto Garden Club.
Good morning, Chairman Grewal, and to the members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Nancy Robinson. I'm president of the Modesto Garden Club. The Modesto Garden Club was founded in 1924. This is our centennial year. We have organized a year of memorable events to commemorate our 100-year anniversary, which this board and the general public are invited to attend and lend their support. First, at 10 o'clock next Monday morning, February 12th, exactly 100 years after it was founded, the Modesto Garden Club will begin a year of celebrations with the groundbreaking ceremony to bury a 25-year capsule at the Centennial Garden located at the Virginia Corridor Trail and West Orangeburg Avenue in Modesto, California. Speakers include our Mayor, Suze Wallen, Heidi Savage from the Downtown Improvement District, and myself. If the board has an item you feel would make an appropriate addition to the time capsule, we welcome it. You may have noticed the new Modesto Garden Club Centennial banners in 9 downtown Modesto locations. It is our goal to draw attention to the club in the community. Our 388 members are pleased to drive through downtown Modesto and view the display of club banners. And a few of our members are here today with me. Second, those banners also announce our annual Spring Garden Tour, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 20th. This year's theme is Serving and Beautifying Modesto for 100 Years. It is a public, self-guided tour of 6 unique local gardens. Tickets cost $25 and are available for purchase at 7 local businesses, including the Garden Club office. Funds from the Spring Garden Tour make it possible for the Modesto Garden Club to contribute its 100-year focus to urban beautification and preservation of green space. For example, proceeds support philanthropic projects such as scholarships for college-bound horticulture and landscape students, planting the flower clock adjacent to the Modesto Center Plaza, planting the downtown pots twice a year, maintaining the senior citizens garden, center garden, and over a dozen additional philanthropic endeavors. Third, on Wednesday, June 12th, the Garden Club members will use their personal table settings to create a summer luncheon table viewing wonderland of unique and creative tables for the public to view at Del Rio Country Club. Fourth, the Modesto Garden Club is in preparation for our 4th of July float, which our club was honored as Grand Marshal thanks to District 5 City Councilman Jeremiah Williams. Our float theme will be 100 years and growing. What an opportunity to reach the public with 100 years of civic beauty in our local area. We appreciate the board's support as we enter this historic year for the Modesto Garden Club. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Appreciate it, and thank you for everything the Modesto Garden Club does to make our community look beautiful.
Thank you.
Right. Next speaker, I have Alfonso Miraz. Hope I said that right, Miraz.
You said it perfectly right. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, board members. The reason for my being here, and thank you for the opportunity, the reason for my being here is raising a concern in my community. I'm a food truck owner and operator, and I'm also a food trailer manufacturer licensed with the state of California. Several of my customers have come and asked me, how come our food trucks are so strictly regulated in the Stanislaus County? Stanislaus County is one of the toughest counties to permit and regulate our business, and it's a great thing. You know, if it wasn't regulated, it would be no man's land. So I understand that, and I actually work closely with a lot of the inspectors at the health department, and we have developed a good relationship to where they help us more than regulate. They regulate by helping us. A lot of the food truck owners that I know are considering the option of not even renewing their permits or licenses anymore because of all the rise of the non-regulated, non-permitted illegal food vendors that are popping up everywhere. We do understand that everybody wants to work and everybody wants to bring food to the table, but these vendors that are coming up in every corner are just a group that are coming from outside of our county or outside of our area, and they're run by a few people that are bringing these businesses to challenge other businesses that are paying taxes, that are paying rent, that are paying their fees to become permitted, that are their fees to become regulated, and we're trying to do the appropriate thing by running a legitimate business, and we're facing this challenge. I think our health department is becoming a little overpowered, and they're not able to regulate this. So I don't know if it's in your guys' power to probably help the Health Department and the Environmental Resources Department and us. That way we can keep on, encouraging our food vendors to keep observing all the rules and regulations, and we don't become, one of those counties that have just no rules to operate. Thank you.
Well, Alfonso, I appreciate you coming up and sharing your concerns. We have our Director of Environmental Resources, whose department oversees all of the licensing and the regulations. In the back right there, Rob Kostlevy. I think he's waiting for you, and I think he's just waiting to talk to you, nothing else. But please, please make sure that you see him on your way out and share your concerns. He's the person that can help you with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Any other members of the public that didn't have a public comment card but would like to speak? This is your opportunity. All right, seeing none, we will be moving forward to consent calendar. Does anyone in the audience have any item they would like to speak on or pull from the consent calendar? Any members of the board? All right, seeing none, then I will entertain a motion for the consent calendar approval.
Motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Chiesa and a second by Supervisor Buck Condit, and this will be a roll call vote.
Supervisor District 1, Buck Condit.
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Veda Chiesa.
Aye.
District 3 Supervisor Terry Withrow.
Yes.
District 5 Supervisor Chance Condit.
Aye.
And District 4 Supervisor Chairman Manny Grewal.
Aye. All right, all consent items passed. Thank you so much. Next item is discussion items. We have item 7.1, accept an update on the Stanislaus County Illegal Cannabis Enforcement Program. And presenting will be Sergeant Frank Soria, Lane Avila, Wendell Emerson, Denny Ferreira.
Good morning.
Sorry, I didn't mention your name. It's on the presentation, but it wasn't on the agenda. So no disrespect to Erica Ignacio, who's our Deputy Executive Officer, and then Sheriff Jeff Dirksey is also on the presentation. Happy belated birthday, Sheriff.
Good morning, Chair Graywell, Board Member, CEO Hayes, and County Council votes. The Illegal Cannabis Enforcement Team is scheduled to provide updates to the board twice a year. Please note that the data presented today is for calendar year 2023, but the fiscal data is for fiscal year 2024. You will be hearing from several of the individuals that participate in the enforcement of the illegal cannabis activities, and that includes individuals from the Sheriff's Office, Code Enforcement, Environmental Resources, Planning, and the District Attorney's Office. But first, let me just provide a little bit of history. On September 26 of 2017, the Board of Supervisors approved the development of a commercial cannabis allowance strategy for retail, cultivation, and other related cannabis business activities in the unincorporated area of Stanislaus County. On December 5th of 2017, the board adopted ordinances related to regulating commercial cannabis activities and the Cannabis Activity Enforcement and Program Monitoring Strategy, which started in June of 2018. This included a conservative allowance strategy of 61 permitted activities. Not more than 7 of those would be for retail. In February of 2019, the board began to approve development agreements. As of January 2024, there are 61 available activities, 27 are still active, and 16 businesses are in operation. We now have 34 licenses remaining. The commercial cannabis program has been monitoring operators. Next week, the board will hold a public hearing on 3 operators whose development agreement is about to expire, but have obtained their commercial cannabis activity permit and are asking to renew their development agreements. The board is also scheduled to hold a public hearing on a commercial cannabis business tax measure. The intent of the commercial cannabis program was to be generating revenue to fund the county's enforcement strategy to remove the numerous illegal cannabis activities in the community. Revenue collected from the legal permitted businesses supports this enforcement strategy. And now I'll hand over the presentation to Sheriff Dirksey.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So we've talked about all of this before, the threats posed by illegal grows. They are the #1 source of complaints that I get as the sheriff, specifically whether it's text, email, phone call, whatever the case may be. Every time we hit one and we post about it, that generates a report of at least 2 or 3 additional ones. Shootings, crimes of violence are always associated with illegal marijuana grows. They are the #1 source of crimes of violence in terms of illegal drugs, right? A lot of people might think heroin, fentanyl, meth, something like that. That's not accurate. It's illegal grows. Last year we had a record low number of homicides, and one of the reasons that we attribute that to is aggressively going after illegal grows. It's more of an anecdotal analysis than any kind of specific stats that we can provide, but that is our working theory. And you can see some of the other issues on there. Next one, Erica. So how investigations work. Pretty much all of the investigations start at the sheriff's office, and the initial tips are vetted, and those that we kind of deem appropriate get sent over to Lane Avila and his crew, and you'll hear from Lane here shortly. The criminal investigation can take 1 to 4 weeks to complete. That's when we start working on it, and that's probably optimistic in certain of them. Some of them are very long-term investigations. Obviously, the follow-up is important. But the sheriff's office specifically, we're trying to kind of transition our efforts into the real criminal enterprises, not kind of those nuisance backyard grows. Lane's team has been doing a great job of dealing with those. And so that kind of 2 prongs of effort, if you will, I think has paid off some pretty serious dividends. So next one. And these are the stats for the entirety of 2023. And you guys can see that. A significant number of arrests and plants seized and destroyed. The key one, though, that I really want to focus on is the kind of the bottom left big green block there of 138 firearms seized. That kind of ties directly into the reducing crimes of violence in our communities. So, again, not every firearm that's at a grow is going to be used in a crime of violence, but there's certainly a propensity for it. And I think that is the end of mine. Oh, just a few pictures, sorry, from this last year. You can see some of those guns there. Now, those are not typically the type of guns that most folks would use, in a drive-by or some other act of violence. Those are generally plinking or hunting type of weapons. So, all right. Thank you, Erica.
Good morning, everyone. So here we're going to talk about the code enforcement aspect of what Dursky was just talking about. So we take the smaller cases that we have out there. The sheriff's department turns over the tips to us that they get to the line. It's going to be a smaller backyard ones. Most of these cases we do find that we go out on our just regular code enforcement cases. Someone will call into us of non-cannabis, and we show up, there's actually cannabis growing. Sometimes people have a tendency not to call them exactly what the complaint is, so we'll walk into it and actually on-site it. So we'll work closely with the sheriff's department to make sure that some of these are properties that we're at are safe properties that we can be located at and walk out to. So some of our cases that we have with that in mind, we had 57 cannabis cases. The complaints that some founded that says 11, those are the ones that they turned in. We go out there, maybe they stopped growing. By the time we showed up there, the tenants moved or it was never there. Someone just thought they were growing out in the backyard. So that's when we go out and take a look at it. And we move forward on that. So our next picture is just a couple of the backyard grows that we have out there. We work like close with the sheriff's department on. We have the removal of all the stuff. These are just pictures of what is being removed to the cannabis. Then we come back afterwards. We'll address all the structurals that's out there. So all the structures that need removed, illegal wiring that's going to require any kind of permits. And that's when we turn it over to the building department. We call them out to say, hey, here's the notice of violations that we have. That they need to get general permits for this, and then the building department comes in this situation and takes over from this point. And we work closely with both teams, both the sheriff's department and building department. They're after this.
Danny.
Good morning, Chairman Greenwell, CEO Hayes, Council Doring, or Bose, sorry. Wow, that was a flat blast from the past, right? And board, thank you. Sorry about that. The numbers that are in front of you today, I want to clarify, it's a two-prong approach. Once DER, once the sheriff does their good work, they all end up pretty much on the third floor here at 10th Street. Typically, electricity is removed, and their motivation is to get their electricity or power turned back onto their property. Our motivation is to get the property back into compliance. Typically, what happens is, you see up there, phase 1 permit, they come in, we then go out and basically look at the property, tell them what they need to do to get the property back into compliance. We give them letters, give them punch lists of what they're going to have to do. Once they pretty much comply or want to comply with that, they come in and they actually get a permit to either demolish or fix anything that they did either to the house, barns, outbuildings, whatever. When we are done, the houses are typically habitable, and the properties are in compliance, meaning that all illegal buildings are removed, any electrical, any air handling equipment that they use for the grow has been removed. Of those 158 permits over the last year, 115 of those are final, so that was 115 properties we got back in compliance, and there's 43 that still, as of the time of these statistics were done, were not complete. You see those expenditures up there. The $4,083 was for legal cannabis for the planning department, but just labor tracking alone for building permit services, we're at about $89,500 just dealing with the illegal cannabis part of this process. I've said it many times, this had a huge effect on our department that we didn't know that was going to come our way. I mean, we have people coming to our counters in the third floor that are not motivated to do anything but get power back on and get back in business. And so we are trying to, at least get these property owners in compliance for the neighboring properties in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have a representative from the district attorney's office here, but they
Oh,
did.
yes, we do, ma'am. We
Never
have Wendell
mind.
Emerson here.
Thank you, appreciate it. I'm Wendell Emerson, I'm with Chief Deputy District Attorney with the District Attorney's Office. Thank you for having us, Chairman and other distinguished guests. With regard to our prosecutions, we do have 74 cases from 2023 and 30 misdemeanors. And I'd like to highlight that because we've been working with the Sheriff's Office, and because of the changes in the law, one of the frustrating things we've dealt with was the Sheriff's Office. They'd go into these big marijuana grows and we'd come out with misdemeanors, which is very expensive for the sheriff to go into these properties and do these raids, and to come out with misdemeanors where these people get little time has been very frustrating. But we worked with them and we've worked on getting felony charges, so this is a significant improvement from past years where 70% of our cases are felonies, where we can get real time and have some real consequences for these people. The one issue we do have, as you can see, we have 39 convictions. A lot of these arrests deal with people involved in drug trafficking organizations, and they're well funded, and they tend to put a lot of money into the defense of the people that are arrested, and those prosecutions can drag on, especially when there's asset forfeiture money involved. There's a built-in incentive for defense attorneys to drag those cases out to hopefully kill the asset forfeiture. And as you know, the sheriff's been very proactive in seizing funds, so a lot of these cases do involve asset forfeiture. There are, I would like to point out that the cases that are in the PowerPoint deal with specific charges related to marijuana. I can't say there are a lot of other cases related to these raids and the endeavors of the Sheriff's Office that don't have marijuana charges, but they have gun charges or other conspiracy charges that are related to illegal marijuana cultivation. We can say as well that we've seen a huge spike in asset forfeiture seizures We've been very successful in that endeavor. I think we took over $2 million this year. A lot of that was from the efforts of the Sheriff's Department. We did delve into taking properties, and only specific properties where 100% of the property was being used for illegal cannabis grows. As part of our denial of resources, we've learned that a lot of these properties will go back to marijuana grows if we don't take them. It's been a slow process, but we have had some success. 2 of those properties have gone into foreclosure, so they've been taken from the drug dealers at that point, and we're right now just finishing up taking a warehouse that was completely used just solely for marijuana by the drug trafficking organizations. So I think we are having success on that front as well. We are seeing a disturbing trend in these cases involving human labor trafficking, where a lot of these drug trafficking organizations are bringing people over, illegal immigrants undocumented from Mexico, and then forcing them to work for pennies on the dollar in conditions that are frankly inhumane. We're seeing a lot of that, and we're trying to beef up our efforts with regard to that, but it's a tough process, as a lot of these people are afraid of the people involved in the drug trafficking organizations, or afraid of law enforcement, so getting their cooperation has been tough, but we have been making some strides with regard to that. And finally, we are trying to make efforts to speed up our prosecutions by using the grand jury process. We used that several times this last year, and we're going to continue to use that on some of our major cases to get some of these cases through the system in a more expedient manner, which saves everybody a lot of money with regard to criminal justice expenditures. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Sheriff Dirksey?
Okay, in May of last year, we got a Prop 64 grant that funds all of the stuff that you see up there. The deputy sheriff, the detective is on board, the crime analyst is on board, the CSO is on board. They're all funded by that. The media relations staff, we have that. They are doing the media relations. One of the challenges that we get every time we post about anything marijuana related is another 2 or 3 grows that come in through all the various reporting sources that we get to work on. So I think our media relations are also paying off. Next slide, please. So how does someone report illegal grows? There's 3 ways. You can see them up here. The one that I really want to focus on, though, is Crime Stoppers. Not only can the RP, the reporting party, the person who makes the report, stay anonymous, but they also have the potential of getting a reward for doing that. And there is a fairly significant desire by many folks to stay anonymous for one reason or another. The idea of retaliation is typically overblown. We rarely, if ever, see that outside of something gang-related, but I do understand it's a concern. And so for anyone out there that wants to report it, just go to Crime Stoppers. Report it. It will make it, functionally. All of these funnel to the same source anyway. So Crime Stoppers is a great bet. And I've said this many times before. You can email me personally through the website. And there's a button on our homepage that says "Email the Sheriff." Comes to me and me alone, and I will forward it from there to the team.
So just to highlight a little bit of the revenues and expenditures as it pertains to the cannabis program. In fiscal year 2023, the program revenues were $2.25 million and actual expenditures were $3.15 million, using $900,000 of a $2.5 million retained earnings balance. In fiscal year 2024, the legal budget projects $3 million in cannabis program revenue, $4.4 million in expenditures, using an additional $1.4 million of the retained earnings balance. On here you see listed the makeup of the programs and the expenditures that are currently made up for fiscal year 2024. Due to the projected continued decrease in cannabis program revenues, reductions in the enforcement budget will be required sometime in the next fiscal year. And that is the presentation. Thank you, and unless you have any questions.
Right, thank you so much for the presentation to all of you. Members of the board that have questions? Supervisor Chiesa?
More or less, are you receiving more or fewer complaints with the code enforcement and or sheriff's department? Are you seeing any increase, decrease, or the same?
Yeah, I would say that I'm actually seeing a decrease in complaints. It used to be that if I posted about it or the department posted about it, it would be 5 or 6 reports, new grows. And now that is definitely dropping off. And, I don't fly in our helicopter very often, but the last time I did, I talked to the air crew that flies every day. And, they said that they are specifically seeing a fairly significant reduction in the large, functionally commercial illegal grows that are out there. The greenhouses or the hoop houses are just so obvious from the air. That is a definitive reduction. The smaller backyard ones that may still be something that we engage on, they may not quite be for Lane's crew. Those are still fairly prevalent, but the big ones are definitely going down. And I would say that overall, yeah, we are seeing a reduction.
Good. And Lane, on the code enforcement side, the compliance level is
On ours, everything we address is 100% compliance.
and generally it's through a visit or a letter or either.
Correct, yeah, we're still the process. If we find it, we give them 3 days to address it, and then within 10 days, we can start the administrative process up, which would be fines daily, and that goes against the property owner. So sometimes we have out-of-state property owners, and they respond within that 10 days to have it removed.
That's good. And I think most people absolutely understand the sheriff's involvement, code enforcement to some degree. And Denny, it was good to highlight the lost missing piece, that there's impacts to more than just those 2 departments that are being funded. And Public Works also has they play in this area by having heavy equipment and helping bulldoze things. So,
yeah.
And I'm not sure we're doing reimbursement for their time. Obviously, the long-term ramifications of the decrease, we're going to have to right-size this program because we are overspending, and that's not in the county's best interest long-term. But I think we see good progress, and it's really what this board had asked for years ago when we started the cannabis program. And I think we continue to be heading in the right direction, because I don't use myself as typical, but I'm getting fewer complaints, and that just seems that if you just look at it from that standpoint, that things are getting better. So appreciate all your work.
Supervisor Vithro?
Thank you guys for the presentation. I agree with Vito. The complaints are down. We're just not hearing as much. Obviously, you guys are making progress. You're superstars with what you're doing out there. Jeff, Lane, Denny, Erica, Rob, and Wendell, thank you for being here. A couple questions I had. One was the asset forfeitures for the properties. There were 2, and I think you said, I don't know if it was Danny who talked about that, or Wendell maybe. And you said they were drug dealers. I know we passed an ordinance a while back, Tom, I'm looking at you, with regard to ways for us to get these individuals who weren't necessarily drug dealers that own the properties, but were leasing them to these individuals and then pretending they didn't know what was going on there. And so we put in place, I think, like a daily fine. I don't know if any of that actually ever has been enforced, or these seizures, the 2 that we have, property seizures, were just from individuals, drug dealers that actually own the property.
Yeah, that was separate from what you're discussing. There's actually more properties. We've done some in coordination with the Modesto Police Department. I believe there was one with possibly Turlock. At the warehouse we're about to officially take, or that's selling right now, that was through the Modesto Police Department. As Mr. Bowes can tell you, these things can be fraught with liability on our end in terms of having to take care of the property and things like that. And county council has been very helpful in getting this program up and where it is to be starting to be successful. So I appreciate Mr. Bose's efforts with that. What we have been doing is there's a health and safety code where people who own the property and know the property is being used for marijuana, they can be charged with a felony. So we did come up with a notification where we will go to the property owner and put them on notice. Your property is being used for a major illegal marijuana grow, and you are on notice of it. If you don't get it cleaned up, we will charge you with a felony. That did get off the ground a little bit, but I know county council, or I'm sorry, the civil side's been taking more action with regard to that. That is something that we've been working in particular with, I believe, the Turlock Police Department and Modesto And we are looking to expand that because it's very powerful. I feel like we get compliance when we send a police officer out and tell the landowner that you are looking at felony charges in addition to many civil fines if you don't get this cleaned up. And when they do that, it saves the sheriff from having to send out the SWAT team and clean it up themselves. And when we do this, we give them the resources so they don't just dump these chemicals into the river or whatnot,
Right.
and so it can be an appropriate cleanup.
And I think we had the daily, we were trying, because what we kept finding was, I think at one point where we would go in and clean someplace up, 6 months later, they're back there again.
Correct.
And then we put in place an ordinance, I thought, to try to put charge, and I don't know if that fine has ever been enforced, if we've ever.
Well, Lane has been very successful in getting compliance, and so we've never needed to use the ordinance.
Very good, okay.
Never got to that point yet.
That's
Yeah.
great. Okay, then the last thing I want to just point out, and you just kind of said it as a side note, Wendell, but I just think it's so important that we, and I don't know why we kind of overlooked this, but you talked about the individuals the human trafficking that's going on. We're here today, we're celebrating, Black History Month, 160 years since the Emancipation Proclamation. But we have slavery going on here today still, and I just can't emphasize how important, this aspect of it, of what's going on, what's happening with these individuals that are being brought into this country and enslaved. And I can't believe we're just not talking about this more. Like I said, it was just like in passing on. It's disturbing, this is increasing, but it's more than disturbing. It's unbelievable that this is still happening in this country today, and we're allowing it to happen. So I just wanted to say that, place more emphasis on this, on what's going on. Again, especially here as we celebrate Black History Month, and we're so far past that, we're right back into it again. And so, anyway, I just wanted to point that out. But
That's a great
all
observation.
right, Jeff.
Yeah, if I could jump in here, I actually texted Brooke that at our next Sheriff's Office presentation, I think it's in April, we're actually going to focus on human trafficking. Last month was Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we just completed Operation Reclaim and Rebuild, which is led by LASO. It's a statewide effort, and historically being the last 2 years, we've come in second in the state for the number of arrests. This year we were third. Riverside County actually upped their game. We had 77 arrests just out of that week-long operation, which was 2 weeks ago. So we're going to talk about that at our next one, because you're absolutely right. It is here, it is prevalent. It's probably getting worse, and so we need to bring that up more, or talk about it more.
And I know the cartels, and sorry, this is just from information that I get from, there's more money to be made in human trafficking. As sick as it is, you think about drugs, it's a one-time, sell a drug and choose, that's it. Human trafficking, they can use these individuals over and over again. And so it is really moving towards where the money is being made now by the cartels is in human trafficking. And we got to stop it. We just got to end this. So I appreciate all you're doing, Jeff. Thank you guys very much.
Supervisor Buck Condon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Terry just kind of stole my next question. When we talk about the grow organizations or the illegal grow organizations, are we talking cartel?
The answer to that question is yes and no. Some of them are definitively tied to the cartels. We may not be able to prove that or to prove which cartel it is, but yes, they are. And then there are others that are not cartel related, but they are entrepreneurial enterprises, where it is an individual or a group of individuals that are working together, and they have a network of these. They may be outside of our county, right? They may go kind of up and down the Central Valley, maybe just in our neighboring counties, but they are very much criminal enterprises, but they are not cartel related. So, but the answer is both. Just kind of depends.
And how entrenched is then the cartel in Stanislaus County?
Very. There's a lot of cartel activity here. Not necessarily or exclusively related to illegal marijuana, but all of the other hard drugs as well. We are on that I-5 and 99 north-south corridor, and the vast majority of our illegal drugs, other than marijuana, come over the southern border, usually through a port of entry, and they go into San Diego, LA. They start moving their way north, potentially all the way to Canada, or they hit the major east-west routes, 80 specifically out of Sacramento, and then they go east from there. So the cartel, given our geography and, large parcels out, rural parcels that large could be 5 acres, it could be 500 acres, but, they're buried in a cornfield or an almond orchard or walnut orchard or something like that with, shops and warehouses and barns and so on, makes for very easy transload locations. And so we kind of have the right geography to support that. And it's not unique to our county. I mean, anything from Kern County all the way up north, but we have the right environment for it.
And obviously, they're well-financed, so they're constantly on the move.
Yes, very much so. They are very well-financed. To Supervisor Withrow's kind of earlier comments about human trafficking, that is a very close second now behind the drug trade as far as the amount of money that they make. And it is literally billions of dollars to smuggle people over the border. It starts as human smuggling, and that's the act of moving humans over the border. They are smuggled. They pay for that. The people that want to come to this country, they pay for that, usually starting at $7,000 on up, depending on where they're from. Most of them do not have that in cash, so maybe they put a down payment of a couple grand, they owe $5. Once they get over, they have to work that $5 off. And so those cartels are very well funded.
Danny, on the 43 unresolved building permits?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, that leads to neighborhood blight. They don't keep up. What happens when they don't resolve those permits?
Typically, those 43 don't have power. We've had a couple repeated properties that Lane hit, I think, a couple times that they didn't care if they had power or not. Excuse me. But once we get those, they'll be notified. The owners will be notified. Thank you. And then basically we'll start the process of filing liens on the property. It's basically,
and how long is that process?
It doesn't take very long. Once we notify them, 15, 30 days, the liens on the property. It does prevent, it doesn't prevent cash sales, which a lot of times what takes place on these properties, but anything that goes through any sort of escrow, if someone goes and does buy it for cash and then wants to come and get a permit, we know what's going on and they have to deal with that then. So the new owners, it gets passed on to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're finding that some of the 47 that's outstanding on there have a lot of violations. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of it's actually going to be plans that need to be designed and permitted for that, to buildings that were added and everything else. Some of these owners just abandon the properties. Code enforcement in all these cases stay involved as it goes through. So as all the lien process goes on their side, we also have a process on our side to do the same. So we'll push on the properties. If they remain vacant, we're going to push those through like a receivership program on that. We'll take the properties through the county process to go through that so it doesn't just stay vacant for so long. We are finding properties are turning over to other owners, different owners coming in, so they're just getting out of it completely. So obviously we're giving them the opportunity to come in and fix everything and turn it back into housing. But for regrows that we talked about, sort of with Sheriff Dursky and with what Danny's talking about, we don't have too many of those that's happening because we're constantly out there. The Sheriff's Department go out, it can be done in a day, but we're out there 8, 9, 10 months later. We're still out there about every 30 days is what we go out and investigate. So, and on the cannabis cases, we make sure we stay on top of those just so we make sure that that doesn't start back up. So we're not getting the startups on those. We're not getting new people coming in. They're trying to work on the violations itself and then the funding and everything else. So once again, we go after the property owners. It's the property owner's responsibility to take care of all the permits on the property. So sometimes they want to make sure these tenants are gone completely out. So they'll go through the eviction process to make sure that's properly done before they go ahead and try to get refinancing to try to fix the property back up. So that's why sometimes they're open, is because of that.
Thank you for the job you guys do. Excellent.
Supervisor Kias has a question.
Just one more question. There's so many new laws coming down and tracking. Are you coordinating with the state, Lane, to make sure? Because I know we've talked about so many things, ways to fine or follow or lien, and are you?
Yeah, so with help from county council also, code enforcement also is working on the commercial cannabis side, so we try to follow all laws that come through commercial. And when it comes to anything on the illegal side, we're trying to find if there's any help, grants, anything we can go through this process of going through these properties quicker and faster. We're finding there's really not a lot on that. They try to hold what we already have authorities to the health and safety code and to the building code of what the property is. So, once again, we address what the property conditions are, more of actually of the cultivation activity, because that's now stopped, it's gone. So we try to convert back over to the building side. So on the illegal side from the state, they try to help out through the sheriff's department on funding and stuff like grants on Prop 64 is what they try to fund through that, and then have the local agencies take that money and then focus on how they have to address the properties as they can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Lane and I have been looking at the possibility of contracting with the state, and we're still looking at that. So there's a possibility that we could get more coordination with the enforcement arm of the state.
Yes.
Supervisor Chance-Condit, do you have any questions?
No questions, just thank you for all the hard work you guys do.
All right, we wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about you. All right, any other questions? If not, I'm going to take it out to the public. Any members of the public have any questions?
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Stephen Morrow. I'm very grateful for all of the departments involved to try to keep this scourge of illegal grows under control. Now, I know the funding shortfall right now is troubling, but I'm also hopeful that the pending business tax that's eventually going to come before this board and then to the voters will address that so we can keep this program going and get all these illegal grows under control. So thanks to everybody for the hard work.
Thank you, Stephen. Any other members of the public? Seeing none, I will bring back to the board to accept the item.
Motion to accept.
Second. All right, got a motion to accept from Supervisor Buck Condit and a second from Supervisor Terry Withrow. Roll call vote.
District 1 Supervisor Buck Condit.
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Vito Chiesa.
Yeah, aye.
District 3 Supervisor Terry Withrow.
Yes.
He always says yes.
District 5 Supervisor Chance Condit.
Aye.
And District 4 Supervisor Chairman Manny Grewal.
Aye. Thank you so much for the presentation. Appreciate all of you guys updating us on this.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next we move on to correspondence. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Board of Supervisor reports. Any members of the board that would like to report anything that they've been done exciting since last week?
No, but if I could comment really quickly. So some of you may or may not be aware, but last Friday I received there was a press release from the city of Turlock and regarding Las Palmas Estate, which is now a contract that we took up back on November 7th. This board, Buck, you were not present at that meeting, and it was to extend or to add on to a contract. But I think just reading the press release, it seems like there's a disagreement on the facts, and I thought maybe next week, if we could, maybe we could do a presentation to this board if the rest of the board members are okay with that.
That'd be great. That sounds good.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right, any other board members?
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and report out from DC. I am on a trip in DC, our lobbying trip, also with the Mayor of Patterson, Michael Clazel, the city manager, Ken Irwin, and we are meeting with our legislators. I'm actually on the way to go meet with Congressman Lawarty in the next 30 minutes. We've met with the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, as well as Department of Transportation and the Department of Interior. And of course, we're doing our best to bring home some funding to Stanislaus County. So, sorry I couldn't be with you in person today.
No, we appreciate you taking that trip and advocating on our behalf and the region, so really appreciate it. All right, next, legislative, fiscal, and management reports. We have Gavin Klein from Congressman Duarte's office. Maybe, Gavin, you could text the Congressman that Supervisor Condit and others are on the way.
I will.
VIP treatment.
Supervisor Condit, you'll have to tell the Congressman I said hello. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, county staff, community. Thank you, Gavin Klein, from the office of Congressman John Duarte. I just want to give you all a quick update of some bills that we introduced last week. Last Friday, Congressman Duarte held a press conference in Modesto introducing the bipartisan high-intensity drug trafficking area, HIDA, Reauthorization Act of 2024, which provides over $300 million annually to help stop the spread of fentanyl and other illicit drugs in the Central Valley and across the United States. Congressman Duarte was joined by local law enforcement officials and is supported by both Democrats and Republicans in the House. This bill will provide the necessary resources for our law enforcement officials to continue the fight against the epidemic sweeping our nation. What this bill does is it reauthorizes a HIDA program at about $302 million annually through fiscal year 2030, which is a $22 million annual increase. Creates a new grant program with the HIDA program that individual HIDAs can apply to enhance fentanyl seizures and interdictive activities, reporting on coordination between law enforcement and immigration authorities to crack down on international drug cartels. And it directs the U.S. Attorney General to assign no less than 16 assistant U.S. attorneys to individual HIDAs at HIDA's request to prioritize the investigation and prosecution of organizations and individuals trafficking fentanyl to ensure these criminals are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And then throughout our district, Congressman Duarte has seen the toll taken from fentanyl and the other illegal drugs is taken on our families and our children. For Americans aged 18 to 45, fentanyl is considered the leading cause of death. And in 2023 alone, approximately 112,000 Americans have died from this drug. Congressman Duarte is committed to supporting our local law enforcement agencies and protecting our communities in the fight against fentanyl. I want to take the time to thank Stanislaus County District Attorney Jeff Ligero, Chief Deputy District Attorney Wendell Emerson, and the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office for allowing us to host a press conference at their facility. And as well as I wanted to thank Sheriff Jeff Dirksey, San Joaquin District Attorney Ron Freitas, San Joaquin Sheriff Patrick Withrow, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, representatives from Madera, Merced, and Fresno County Sheriff's Department, and as well as the Madera District's Attorney's Office and Chrissy Hoffman for joining us in this presentation, in our press conference. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for the update, Gavin. Appreciate it. CEO Hayes. Legislative update.
No specific items, but I do want to acknowledge we did receive the request for the presentation next week, and we will be prepared to talk on that topic next week in some form. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And then today we don't have a closed session. So
no closed session.
Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thank you so much.